Guys, before we get started, I want to tell you about the cryptocurrency exchange Bybit. It's a user-friendly platform for anyone looking to trade crypto with ease, fast transactions, an intuitive interface, and a wide range of trading tools. If you decide to give it a try, feel free to use our referral link for some extra benefits.
Hello everyone, friends. You're on the ProBlockchain channel. We're continuing our podcast series. Today we've got some old-timers of the crypto world gathered here. I don't really understand why we're here at all or what we're about to discuss. We have a really cool guest today. I think that pretty much everyone in crypto knows him, maybe even personally. If you haven't seen him, you've definitely heard of HAMAHA. So who is HAMAHA, Max? What kind of person is he? Actually, huge respect. Thank you for joining the podcast. Just a quick opinion from the outside. We've been following Max for a long time, more or less since the same time, maybe a year apart when we started. Max has actually done a lot for this industry, especially in the CS, because back when the whole understanding of crypto and how to work with it was just emerging, Max was really one of those people. Let's put it this way, one of the pioneers, traders maybe. He provided a lot of foundational knowledge, explained what crypto is in general. So a huge thank you for making such a big contribution to the crypto industry in the CIS. Let's welcome Max once again. Hi, thanks for coming.
Hello, great introduction, just the way I like it, full throttle.
Yeah, well, you truly, really do deserve it.
They appreciate it, but they don't remember. It's good that I have with me here some Zoomers, a Taz piece, and a topic.
I'm going to make a wish real quick right now. I'm between two Maxes. All right, everyone, whatever you hamsters want, write it down. And you, in the comments, make a wish together with me. Like there's an alt season, it's faster, really strong. There's Bitcoin at $2 billion for everyone. And the main thing is that you buy it and don't sell it before then. Well, basically, all your dreams, make your wishes, write yours together. Everything will come true. Every comment you write.
Well, actually, Max, thanks again for coming. Our main goal today is to figure out, in general, what crypto trading actually is. As of today, is it a scam or not? And the very first topic we probably need to touch on is the recent flash crash when the market lost a huge amount of capitalization in a single day. Many traders lost their funds, stop losses didn't work on centralized exchanges, and the exchanges often behaved unethically. In a few words, what's your opinion? How did you get through this situation? Did you lose money? If you did lose money, how much was it, and what are your plans going forward?
To begin with, the event was definitely a tragedy. I lost a lot, my referrals lost a lot, and since then I've had a very negative opinion about it, about the whole industry. Honestly, I've been going around trying to get my money back. So far, I've only managed to get it back from one place. Soon, I'll start calling out specific exchanges by name where the money got stuck and they just shrugged it off and they don't want to comment on it at all. Just recently, I got a fresh comment from an exchange along the lines of, you lost money and so did your audience because of the market mechanism you were using. But the fact that basically we were trading in a casino, put our money on the roulette, and then an earthquake hit and the ball flew off the wheel. Nobody cares about that. In just 15 minutes, the instruments dropped by 80%, absolutely all of them, and some even more. And they think that's normal. After that, I don't feel like trading futures at all, unless it's shorting. Well, that's it in a nutshell.
I see. Let's go into more detail. Are you still doing it now? Negotiations with exchanges? We also believe that centralized exchanges are a problem because I've always said, and the old timers will understand what I mean, that the money you keep on an exchange isn't really your money. You need to be very clear about that. Because at any moment, Binance blocked 2 of my accounts. And I had to fight with them for a long time, even though I had certain, let's say, warm contacts at the exchange. How do exchanges generally behave, and what should regular users do? Should they move to decentralized protocols or keep using DEX?
DEX can help in some ways, but again, you're not protected from hacks. That's the first thing. And secondly, whales will still get to you there. One way or another, whatever happens in the whole market will happen on DEX first.
So how are exchanges behaving right now? They say, this is the market. You lost your funds. We won't compensate anything. Because Binance, as far as I remember, they made a statement that they compensated users for part of the lost funds. How about you?
It was for a very narrow, a very illiquid asset. You have to read between the lines there.
Or something else there, yeah?
It was some special instrument that hardly anyone usually uses. I don't know who doesn't use it, but those are just words. In reality, they compensated very little, but at least they tried to do something. Still, they were the ones responsible for this from the very beginning, and it was their prices. 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗧𝗓𝗏 in the industry. No one had lower prices than them, except maybe Nabina on Bybit, more or less. These two exchanges performed the worst that day.
So how? Well, these decentralized protocols, for me,
I wasn't really following decentralized exchanges or DEXs at that particular time. I just wasn't quite there yet. I do trade on various DEXs, but not typically on dedicated DEX exchanges specifically. Instead, I usually prefer to conduct my trading operations on more specialized DeGen terminals.
Slava, let's...
Yeah, just there seems to be a slight delay. Not sure why. Maybe it's on my end, or maybe everyone has a bit of a lag, so we have to wait for each other while it's quiet. And then, as they say, yes, to ask a question. Well, first of all, I want to show something. I opened your channel, and I actually thought your YouTube channel was from like 2016 or something, but I went and checked, and your channel is from 2011. So basically, that's almost as soon as YouTube appeared, and you, like, yeah. And I don't know, you were doing something on the channel. You have more than 500. Besides
videos, there will be something about the foundation there as well.
Yeah, and indeed,
there will be like videos and there will be filtering. The old ones aren't the main thing.
It won't work for me. I have it disabled. I'm a fan of Profan. Yeah, I prepared for this before, but overall, yes. So I understand that when it says 534 videos, those are the ones currently available. So let's just say that's a ton. Since 2011, the channel has had over 17 million views. So naturally, everyone who's ever been interested in trading crypto and so on has definitely come across you in some way. That's why there's a ton of content recorded and just a ton of experience as well. And so it turns out you've had quite an interesting experience. In other words, you started out in the stock market and then moved to the inefficient crypto market. And now it seems you're temporarily back to the stock market again. I'm not sure if you're back to stocks again. So could you talk about the differences, that journey? So roughly speaking, when you first came here, what did you see? And now as you're leaving again, what's changed? I mean, the general reasons are clear, but how is the stock market different now? What's appeared there that maybe wasn't there before? For example, these ETFs, all the Bitcoin and crypto related things, are they basically there now? Now you don't really need the crypto markets anymore since you can just go there easily.
Yeah, except I'm not leaving temporarily. It looks like I might be done with it for good. Maybe I'll still have something to do with crypto here and there. But again, not in the way we used to be involved with it. And honestly, I have no desire to. It's just one scam after another. And just the other day, I made a video called something like 99% of coins won't survive. In it, I showed how liquidity is now being pulled even from small cap coins, from mid cap coins too. And all of this is being driven to zero. Right now, there are hundreds of projects being shut down at the same time, even those that used to be worth something, and you can see it clearly on the charts. Soon there will be delistings from exchanges. There will be nothing left to trade. And the way the current top 20 instruments are moving is just terrible, honestly. You don't see this in the stock market. There, the principle of price formation and influence is completely different. At the very least, there's no player with massive issuance with dominant emission, and that alone, game change, then regulated market making. The charts, proper levels work there, and their movements are in general predictable. And I really like the gap mechanism. It worked 10 years ago and it still appears and works today. If there's a big one, there will be volatility either further in the direction of the gap or towards closing it. Just need to pick up the pattern at 2 points.
But to put it simply for a newbie, look, you already have quite a bit of experience. So what instruments are you into here? Roughly speaking, have you already decided for yourself where you'll be coming back to first? I mean, what does this give you, since in a way you're already kind of a crypto addict anyway? So this volatility, this extreme volatility, all these sudden moves, 100-fold leverage and such, even if you never actually use them, they still get to you. And in a way, they inevitably affect your mindset. And now if you come back to the stock market, you might find that you're missing some kind of thrill. I don't know. Maybe you don't even need it. But what instruments are you focusing on for yourself right now? If someone wants to follow your path, where should they go? On the
stock market, there are 10,000 instruments now on the American exchange, and there's no particular favorite among them. There are those that are always active. Amazon, Apple, Google, they always have a couple of % movement every day. But from the school I attended in America, what they taught me was to find them, to find abnormal stocks in top news that move within a day. If you see 5, 10, 15, or 20% movement, that's already good activity. And if you use leverage and choose the right direction, plus on the stock market, no one is hunting for stop losses or liquidations. That's why the charts are different. And honestly, I get enough drive from that. Actually, even when I came into crypto, I was already over addicted to this gambling, because before that, I had traded for 12 years with 20 times leverage on the stock market. So Intraday, even if you take 20 times leverage and catch a 2% move, that's enough for you.
I agree here. Honestly, we don't really trade because our story is kind of like, well, first of all, we never really learned how to do this. And all our attempts are basically just taking a shot in the dark, trying to jump in somewhere. It's basically like flipping a coin. Sometimes you set a stop, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get the risk and profit wrong. You don't really calculate the ratio. You just see something somewhere and go for it. In the end, if you make, say, 10 trades together, out of those 10 trades, maybe 2 or 3 are okay. Those were profitable, but the rest are losses. And overall, I end up in the red. It's about the same for Max. So what can you say? Does trading actually work in principle, and for whom does it work? Because, well, there's this statistic that says 95% of traders who come in end up losing their deposits. That's where it all ends, and only a tiny fraction, maybe 3 or 5%, survive. Why do they survive then? What's the key, damn it? The DNA? What is it that breaks everything?
So in the end, is it about a certain market period? Even those who used to survive can stop surviving because the market is constantly changing. And in crypto, the survival rate is probably even worse. About 99% don't make it because the whales and token emissions play a role. It's a bit easier in the stock market, but if you understand the market, your strategy works, even in that last crypto run up until October. So from spring to September, I was gambling really well. I was finding great deals every week. It's just that when you feel the market is growing, you increase your risk. And then when the market changes, you lower your risk. But for everything to work out perfectly year after year, that just doesn't happen. And it's not an easy thing to do. And it's rarely the case that this becomes your main focus. So it's good to have a backup, something else. If it's just a hobby, a pleasant way to spend your time, then yes, there might be something to it.
So you mentioned trading just now, but what do you think about portfolio investing? How do you feel about it? So if we're talking about Bitcoin specifically, we're not talking about, actually, let's make it clear right away that on this broadcast, we fully agree with Max that altcoins are they're highly speculative stuff, and it's unclear whether they'll go up or not. I'm talking now about the top 100 on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. Everything else there, those low caps, meme coins, and all that junk, we're not even discussing. But specifically Bitcoin, how do you view Bitcoin as an investment tool with some real traction for 3 to 5 years?
In the long run, it has proven itself excellently. And if I hadn't messed around or gotten into Litecoins, I'd be much richer than I am now. For the next 3 to 5 years, yes, it can still show something. It's a matured asset. It was created artificially. It was developed. There's an illusion that it came from nothing, out of nowhere, but in reality, it didn't come from zero. The emission that's supposedly in landfills isn't actually in landfills. It's exactly where it needs to be. And I think it'll be fine. It's just that in the next couple of years, most likely there will be a bear market. And just like in previous cycles, we'll go down, we'll stay at the bottom for a while, and then maybe they'll start pumping it again. But there's a serious ceiling for it, so it seems like they won't be killing the asset. And
so what do you think? I'm curious, your forecast. You must have analyzed the Bitcoin chart, right? Regarding the correction and the bear market, what's your opinion? Down to what levels could it go in this cycle? Hypothetically, how much could Bitcoin correct? Of course, this isn't investment advice, just sharing thoughts. And where could it go after that? In your opinion, in the next cycle already?
If you want, you can show this chart on your end if you have it.
everyone already knows from previous cycles how much it dropped. 80, 70%. If you subtract that from 120, well, 60 is a level we should definitely touch. But for everyone to really capitulate, that might be somewhere around 40. That's about where I'm expecting it in the next couple of years. And maybe it'll stay down there for a while so that those who bought at 100 to 120 will exit.
Got it. Where could we go in the next cycle? What's your opinion? So according to the chart, how many X's could it do?
It could go to 200.
Well, it turns out, you see, guys, until
the year 2030,
if someone wants to by 2030, over 5 years, for those who wanted to invest in the index, you'll have the opportunity, if Max's prediction comes true, to buy back Bitcoin for your index little by little, for yourself, and basically to build your portfolio. Why does this work for us? I'll repeat it again. We're not traders, but we have a really great habit that we've developed over the years. We constantly buy Bitcoin for our index. And what do you think about the children's strategy? Tell me, please, when you choose a single asset and over a very long period of time, you just keep accumulating it and never take profits.
well, never taking profits. I don't like that part of the equation. At the very least, when it moves far away from the 200-day moving average, that's when I would start taking profits. In general, if you just look at the 200, if you're a big holder, as soon as it moves far above the 200, you should sell something. And if it then drops well below it, you can buy back in.
That's an additional strategy, So basically, you have some kind of DCA, you keep accumulating, and then suddenly there are these sharp jumps upward. So, for example, you sell 10% of your portfolio, then there's a sharp spike down, like what happened at 40,000. Then, with an increased amount, not your usual DCA, but with an even larger amount, you buy another 10% of the portfolio, for example. And with these, say, up and down movements, you just make such trades maybe once a year or so, once every 2 years, and you just end up increasing your portfolio earlier than you would have otherwise. For example, back in 2016 or 2017, there weren't tools like Compound. Or, on exchanges, there were loans and such, but now there are centralized options available. Yeah, even all sorts of banks, Coinbase, and everyone else out there wants to do this and offer these services. You come in, you don't sell your Bitcoin, you deposit it, use it as collateral like stocks, and take out, say, 20 to 30% against it, but in a way that you still have the chance to avoid liquidation. And that's it. You use it. First of all, you get a loan and you don't pay taxes on that loan. There's no tax here, just like the wealthy do, and you either live off that money. The main thing is not to do anything stupid, like taking out a loan and leveraging it further. When you go for 50, take out 50%, use it to buy more Bitcoin, deposit it, take out more, and keep repeating the process. And basically, you've leveraged yourself 3 or 4 times, Bitcoin drops by 40%, and you get liquidated. And that's it. Goodbye. So you just shouldn't do things like that. But as for accumulating gradually, that's probably fine. I wanted to ask, you also talk with other traders, right? It's clear that during that October, on the 10th or 11th, when we were officially told there were 19 billion in liquidations, in reality, it felt like there were even more. From your trader acquaintances, do you genuinely feel that a significant number of people, unfortunately, fell into this particular trap?
A lot, and not just for a small amount. Many of them lost a significant portion. Maybe even almost everything. For some people, someone might have deposited, say, 200,000 and then took out a leveraged position for 20,000 on cross margin. There are a lot of such situations where cross margin just ate up everything else. Right now, this is a big deal for our people. There's a super trader channel where you have all these different assets. Yeah, you have assets in your exchange portfolio and you check the box for cross margin and select which assets go into cross margin. For some people, everything goes in automatically, and for others, it's different. For example, I know on Bybit, you can select which assets to include, like you can put Ethereum there, Solana there, and so on. And these assets can be used for cross margin, and it's like the exchange supports it. It gives you a loan. At first, it's a dollar loan against your assets. But when the whole market starts to drop, those cross-margin assets you used as collateral also go down, and your loan capacity becomes very small. So you can't cover your position. And it means simply sell all your assets on the market, and we become beautiful. 0. 1 deposit.
I'm explaining it correctly.
Well, it could be simpler. It's just that when you have your entire deposit, it's a cross, and it's better to use it in isolation and forget about the word cross.
Isolated means that, roughly speaking, if you deposit only, say, USDT, then that's the USDT balance you have. Let's say you have 10,000 USDT, you set it to isolated, and you only trade with that 10,000. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yes, anyone who had any cross margin, they all suffered losses, including me. I had cross margin too. In some cases, one position could drag down all the others. Cross margin is what the exchange sets because it makes it easier for a person to get liquidated faster.
But why does a person choose cross margin? Because roughly speaking, it gives them the ability to hold a larger position. To take on more leverage, yes.
To ride out the drawdowns. Yeah, something like that. Actually, it was originally invented so that when you put up altcoins or tokens as collateral, you were allowed to trade. That was actually the worst part, and we really felt it back in 2020 during COVID, how it works when there's an instant wick down and all your collateral coins drop in price by 70%. And even though you had no intention of parting with them, they get taken from you at the bottom, at the lowest possible price. It's brutal. Never use it, especially as collateral coins.
It's an interesting mechanic, They basically take them and dump them as far as they need to. So it turns out that the exchange can, roughly speaking, see all the positions, and they can, well, it's basically manipulation. So by manipulating the market, they can just buy up these assets for cheap, right? Nice and easy.
That was a market mechanism. Uncle Arthur Hayes, maybe. And, at Deribit too, perhaps. He had BitMEX, right? And then they paid a fine there. He was also accused of something like manipulation. We also have acquaintances. They had an entire fund. And they operated with their fund. Their funds account was on the BitMEX exchange because they had some really cool API there. And well, a similar story happened there too when everything suddenly crashed. Their API went down. And then when the API came back online, their accounts were at zero. But at the same time, Arthur Hayes himself is considered to be quite impressive. He writes great essays. They have their own fund there. I've noticed lately that he often, within the framework of, and he manipulates his Twitter as well, including with some recent tweets. He was shilling some token, either melon or some other nonsense. He said they were buying it, that everything could go well, and it might reach $10. He entered the market a bit, did something there, went somewhere. And then Hayes just straight up sells everything, dumps it all, and writes, I've sold everything. But it's obvious because he's a pro. People already saw that he sold, started commenting, and he was like, yeah, I sold. But like crap shitcoins, I went to Bitcoin. I've also dealt with his exchange like you have with Hayes. And in general, when it comes to these foreign super big influencers, what can you say? Are there any reasonable guys you can actually follow among the traders, and who isn't worth following?
After 8 years of searching, I haven't found anyone worth following on Western YouTube, and even Sangesh on YouTube is much stronger than them. In terms of content and quality, their content is pretty basic, all focused on referrals. It's true, it really is. Even though they're like that, they're still powerful guys. We used to talk with them before, both with Crypto and Carl from the Moon, and Ivan, he's in the mix too. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but he speaks Russian. He's actually Belarusian. So yeah, in English language media, all their established setups and fundamental business models, they don't even try to hide it, the Kralovs. They are quite open about it. He talks about this completely openly, that the referral system on centralized exchanges, between us, that's 80% of these influencers' earnings, because the trading fees are quite high and the exchanges provide them. So am I right in understanding that the exchange, basically speaking, doesn't make money on user liquidations, or does it? If it does, then what's the mechanism?
They all say with tears in their eyes that they don't make money from it, but where do these liquidations go? Yes, of course they make money. It's just a casino only on the blockchain, and you're trading play money there. That's why we see how much all these futures have ruined things. They've messed up the crypto market over the past 2 or 3 years. The disaster and horror we see today is because of these liquidation mechanisms on.
Now, there's this new thing going around regarding hours. Well, the exchange, futures, all that stuff. I see all the young people are into it these days. But the new trend is when you go through some kind of qualification, you take a paid test or something like that. So they give you some kind of management, like from a prop company or a prop exchange, they give you something to manage. Supposedly, you get to manage a certain amount of money, but most likely this amount is, well, like ours, like a kitchen, so to speak. In other words, there are a lot of these kitchens. So what do they make money on? On the fact that people take these tests. Then they give you this magical demo account where basically you slowly lose your money unless you don't lose it. They kind of pretend to be upset about it. But the math still works against you, and everyone else just loses their money. And that's how they keep the rotation going. They just keep selling these licenses, or however it works. Where did that even come from?
Yes, you named it exactly right. Yeah, right now the trend for this business model isn't even about prop trading. And I really don't understand why they took the word prop and are tarnishing it. A prop company is supposed to nurture traders and provide capital, but this is just a business model. It's something slapped together by someone on their knees. It works for now because it's kind of new, but mathematically, yes, you explained everything correctly. Everything there is set up so the company profits. Their platforms are
currently not in use or operational and not performing any function.
Plus, their platforms are inactive too. They also throw a few wrenches in the works. It's some kind of custom-built software. You can't trade everything there. I absolutely don't like it. I don't even want to touch any of these prop models.
I see. Tell me, please, you currently have a truly significant number of users, a truly huge number of people who regularly watch your content, but there are also, of course, all sorts of interesting memes. But the jokes, they really went around the internet. If Max goes long, then we go short. But that's part of your recognition and popularity, and with any kind of recognition, there's always a certain number of people who disagree with you. But overall, what is the narrative and attitude of your audience towards you now after what's been happening in the market? How are they handling it? On the contrary, has the community become more united, or have people become more hostile? What kind of behavior pattern does your audience have now? What are people writing in the comments?
I changed my media model since spring. I got rid of all those reverse forecasts and started doing everything seriously. And on top of that, I also added my positions against exchanges, against the industry, against the whales. And well, there's respect and recognition, but people also keep that old note of positivity. Just yesterday, Bitcoin was at 84. I made 2 videos saying this is our last bear market, and it immediately jumped to 93. People were like, wow. Subscribers happy started coming and subscribing. But that wasn't a reversal. I really think that after this winter, there will be significantly fewer instruments on the exchanges.
Well, that's actually just a mechanism. It always happens. And I wanted to talk to you about it, about altcoins. We touched on the topic. Every cycle, some altcoins die off. In general, the listings on exchanges happen very often. Assets that, well, honestly, if we're being completely open and transparent with users right now, what exactly is a brand new asset for a centralized exchange or for a decentralized exchange? DEX. Especially if it's riding some kind of hype. People want to trade it. It's naturally a new audience. And all the centralized exchanges are racing to list these projects so that they appear on their platforms. But what will actually happen with the altcoin season? Will all the alts die, or maybe something will still survive somewhere and we'll see at least some kind of bounce or a return to, say, 2020 levels?
There won't be a return to 2021. Right now, 90% of all instruments will simply die off. And what I meant is that things will be delisted and die off. They'll be delisted and die off. These are the kinds of projects that have been developed over the last 5 to 7 years. And the fact that exchanges list something every day and then delist it 2, 3, or 4 weeks later, those are scams. That's their business model for making money. They charge for those listings. There won't be a massive altcoin season. Once this significant market purge truly happens, and a lot of these projects unfortunately shut down, then on the ruins, the big projects will start to move forward. We've already seen how Ripple came back to life, even though no one expected it to ever recover, considering how they used to do business. Some of what's currently in the top 20, we'll see how it will grow quite well later on. But this will be selective. One thing grows 1 month, something else the next month. There won't be any mass growth. These are very, very targeted instruments. Again, I'm not expecting dozens of X's, just a couple of X's at most. With the current model, the market doesn't allow for it, and it's not profitable to move the price in such a way that someone could take extra from the pool. Why give 30 times when you can show 2 or 3 and then reset it to 0? Or even less than that, sometimes just 1.5 times, as we've seen over the past year.
But then how is the industry supposed to develop at all if, as you say, they're tightening the screws so much? After all, the DeFi sector, which is specifically legitimate blockchains we're talking about, and legitimate projects like, for example, the Aave lending protocol, a great protocol. Using your own, again, fundamental assets as collateral, you can take out the same stablecoins, decentralized protocols like Uniswap, or, I don't know, some exchange aggregators like 1inch. All of this is still necessary for the infrastructure for support. Even if you look at blockchain as a technology overall, that is, where can people go? What is that safe haven where they can at least somehow? So right now, a smart idea for those who, this is what I'm getting at, for those who have a lot of altcoins, since both the protocols and decentralized projects have dropped, maybe it makes sense to just take some of those altcoins that are unlikely to grow anymore and move them into other more fundamental ones. What do you think? What will be the truly fundamental sector to survive and keep working?
There is no such thing as fundamentals in crypto. As you've already seen, wherever there were supposed fundamentals, where are they now after the past year? Is that how you think? You reason in terms of some kind of value, technology, but then there's the token price itself, and the value or technology. They don't have much in common. Everything can work perfectly fine with them, like CakeSwap and Uniswap and so on. But their tokens can keep dropping and dropping and dropping, and they're not obligated to show any growth to anyone. All of these are just shells to sell tokens. That's why we see so many like Jupiter and other seemingly good functioning DEX. And where are they now? How are they behaving? And Vana, which also mentioned dogs, has a very, very aggressive scam model, dumping everything on the market down to zero. And that's basically how it appears to people. I can't understand what the creator of Vana is even doing.
No, well, the fact that it crashed only on them is true, because I myself have Vana and the token. And actually, I'll tell you more. There was this thing with them. There, in order to make the fees cheaper, you could stake it, and I did stake it. There were some reasonable numbers back then. Now it's not that much.
But locally, it never bounced back. That kind of
Downturn.
𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥, the esteemed visionary founder.
AP, is it there? Yes, it is. There are just a few models that are quite new. And for example, Hyperliquid has appeared and it has this model. The token is kind of tied to the financial model itself, roughly speaking. They simply buy back this token. There's an exchange here. There are fees, and they're quite successful at earning millions a day from these fees. Then they use about 10% of that off. Every quarter and sometimes every month, they buy back the token directly from the market at the market price. Either they would lock it up or they would burn it. Now Sviazi is trying to do the same thing with Ostrom. Yes, so they froze it, postponed the airdrop. Basically, to avoid pressure, they also did a buyback and a burn, not a lockup, and so on. So there are protocols that make money. The same Unisphone makes money, MetaMask makes money, but unfortunately, there are very few such protocols. And if a token, for example, right now in any SOP also follows my model, it seems they voted that Unisphone holders will also receive a share of the liquidity fees. So if you provide liquidity and so on, and you have a token, well, there's some kind of connection, you'll be getting something in return. This didn't exist before because everyone was scared because of the Securities Commission. You could immediately get classified as a security, and everyone was afraid to implement these models. Now, little by little, this situation is starting to change. And probably Musk is more about this. If considering that Donald Trump still has a couple of years left, what is it, 2.5 years or maybe 3? If he stays in power and this dynamic continues, then overall it's positive. The SEC isn't coming down too hard. They're giving founders the opportunity to work. They're giving them a chance. These tokens are kind of not securities, but how to pay out with them, maybe new projects will emerge. Maybe something else new will come up. We don't even know yet. Maybe something brand new will appear. Yes, where there really will be an economy that allows token holders, well, essentially you're like a shareholder, to actually receive something. But overall, maybe you're right that such projects, you can literally count them on the fingers of one hand. They're super big, and unfortunately, there are some very large funds involved. At the helm are those who invested a long time ago, and they also want to get their profit, so that's probably how it is. I wanted to ask you about America. You lived in America, right? At that time, let's put it this way.
And in Canada, I lived in America.
Yeah, right, but for some reason you left, didn't you? So tell the guys with rose-colored glasses, do you think it's worth going there now? So America, now everyone is all about crypto, everything's great. People are moving to America, planning to go to Wall Street or trade funds from home and rake in the cash. What excites people? What are the pros and cons there? And why did you, for example, leave? And maybe you're planning to come back. Tell us a bit about that.
We started off talking about DEXs and then suddenly switched to America a bit later. Let me add something about DEX. I was trading on Uniswap myself, I traded there for half a year and didn't really make much. So this whole buyback hyper model, yeah, it works great. It's actually a pretty rare example when the founders don't just dump the emissions, but actually try to nurture something. It's practically a unique one-of-a-kind project where everything is done honestly and beautifully. Everything else is just a disaster. The number of times you'll get scammed in this minefield, man, with all these projects and so on. You just won't make it to the hyper, and even if you do, it won't make up for what you lost along the way, especially in the US. Well, look, when it comes to moving there, there are two options. Either you know how to work with your hands, or you're an IT specialist. If you're neither, and you're not ready to work yourself to the bone all day long, then there's nothing for you to do there. And as for what's happening on the streets is just some kind of wild horror show and a zoo, from endless school shootings to homeless people in tents, even in the most upscale neighborhoods, strung out, carrying knives, just wandering around. But it's the kind of zoo I decided to stay far away from. And besides, I'm not involved there in terms of work or business, so there's really nothing for me to do there. Well, in a nutshell.
So where is better then? Where is it better to be, for example? For instance, Dad has lived in different places in Canada, And then there was, I don't know, Dubai, right? In the UAE. Maybe you live somewhere in Europe. Where exactly? But roughly speaking, more or less, since people of our profession are watching us, they're either investors or developers of some applications, or traders, beginners, already successful, or those who are striving to be. So in your opinion, since you already have enough experience, where is it not a bad idea to roll the dice, so to speak?
It depends on what each person prefers. Again, either you work somewhere locally or you're an online freelancer like me, like you. If you're an online freelancer and it doesn't matter to you where you live, then it's just about finding a place with a good climate, where people around you are open-minded and where you can use crypto for payments. In the end, it's simply about where you feel comfortable living.
Well, and what do you think about what the Emirates are doing right now? I mean, on the one hand, they seem to be crypto friendly and all that, but lately I've heard some news that they want to change something. But maybe that's just rumors or some kind of scam, but
It seems like they're starting to tighten the belt a little bit. But overall, to this day, all the conditions for that are still there. The only thing is, this country isn't suitable for year-round living, just 4 to 5 months at most. After that, it's just too hot, and the air quality isn't great either. Not everyone can stay there for long.
in Asia. And then there's Thailand. I know they're also pretty crypto friendly. They have a data exchange with Russia, and you can accept assets there.
It's a bit risky, though. After all, it's a third world country, and all sorts of things happen there, like hotel break-ins, kidnappings, and so on. So in that sense, I wouldn't stay there for long. I wouldn't want to draw too much attention to myself there.
Basically, there's no place, guys. While I was trying, well, I tried, but I just can't reveal, damn it, the place to go. We need crypto. We need a place for our souls.
All right, my friend, it seems we are ready.
The south coast of France, you probably need to be there apparently in the summer. Yeah, there are some quirks there, but still, being somewhere in southern Europe is probably awesome in the summer. And in winter, move to Dubai when life is a bit more fun there. That's the plan.
For now, that's the perfect combination. Oh,
Slav, we were right. Remember, we always talked about this, that basically wherever you go, you end up hanging out with Arabs. In the end, yeah, with sheikhs in Monaco. So you're sitting in Monaco in the summer, and it's the same sheikhs, the same Dubai crowd, well, the high profile ones. They're right there on the yachts next to you. Nothing really changes for you. You're having coffee with them in the morning too. And then when the season starts, it just feels normal. In November, there are all sorts of blockchain weeks, finance and AI events, and you can already move around in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, and then maybe somewhere here in the kingdom too.
I guess something like that, or something really.
All right, I'd still like to talk a little bit more. We're actually right on time, and we're getting close to wrapping up. I'd like you to give some advice, since a lot of young people are coming in now. And honestly, a lot of young people are getting into crypto specifically through things like trading. Well, actually, there's a big problem. We often give talks, we've held meetups, and especially when young people come, they immediately run up to us and they say, okay, guys, so what exactly did you meticulously do? How precisely did you manage to make all that money? And where exactly should we strategically go from here to achieve similar success? They say trading is the thing, you have to trade, it's all really cool. They genuinely believe it's quick and incredibly easy money. So give some advice to the young people from your own experience. What is trading really about? Is it really that easy? Or is it actually not that simple to make money?
Trading works when the market is good, growing well, you understand it, and you don't use too much leverage. Yes, it works. But young people just come in, they want a game changer, and right now, there isn't one in crypto. So we have to disappoint you here. Guys, here the script is scamming you more than you're making anything. Even so. Yeah, even Olden Flash and Shock can't get anything out of this market.
Max, here you're telling it like it is, no sugarcoating, just straight to the point, bam, and that's it.
But still, we need some kind of beach, a little bit of positivity. We're all about being happy, throwing in some humor and, just sprinkling it on top like that. Well, at least recommend them a damn book to read. I don't know, like Reminiscences of a Stock Operator or something, just something to read. You were right when you said they'll have to bust their asses, to put it bluntly. It's not going to be like snap your fingers and you've won. And if you do snap your fingers and win one day, the next day you might snap your fingers and lose. So holding on to that money is also tough. You either have to be like Warren Buffett, an immortal Highlander. He's already 250 years old, started investing when he was 3. And accordingly, simply thanks to time holding on to assets, he's done well. But everyone wants to have bars of gold as of yesterday. But at least, I don't know, I'll recommend a book or maybe some exercise like squats on a song. But what you really need, by the way, here's an idea. Now there's this new trend of crypto tournaments. Try to get through the qualifiers to make it to a live crypto tournament, because there's a big prize pool there, and I think it's the only place where you can get live experience.
And then you do like that young guy who won in Dubai. He's Belarusian. We were at the meetup. He came up to us and said, guys, I won 5 grand there. 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥, such a cheerful guy.
I think there were even bigger prizes there, or maybe they gave out a big one to someone.
Yeah, that's right.
He's online, he's still online, and yes, he's alive.
Yeah, I said, so what did you do? How did you pull it off? He says, so I just went in, opened a position with the maximum leverage, all in, just like that, man. And he just got lucky. So is that how you're supposed to play at these tournaments?
If you're talking about the online qualifiers and they have rules written out, maximum P&L, I would, well, for the live tournaments, which I'm currently helping to develop, actually for 3 big upcoming tournaments, we're going to have slightly different rules so that we don't get some random guy who just jumps in with max leverage and wins. We'll have stricter rules in place so that it's more about actual trading, at least to some extent, and done properly.
Cool.
Will be covered, just so that a random person doesn't accidentally get in there.
Where will these tournaments be covered? Where should we go? I'd like to go and watch. I'm interested myself.
Well, stay in touch. I don't know the country until the very last moment because it's all due to jurisdiction and so on. And they also don't like to reveal the location while the tournament is still going on. Once it's over, then yes. But if you want to attend in advance, yeah, Bitunix will be hosting one closer to February. There will be a big closed tournament, the largest anyone has ever done for Dota when it comes to that kind of thing. There's already the international for Counter-Strike. And now, you know, soon there will be an international type event for trading. First, we smash faces or shoot in Counter-Strike, you know, kind of like chess boxing, where first there's a game of chess, then they fight around, then another game of chess. We need some kind of combined Counter-Strike with trading or something else to set it apart. Trading on its own is enough, and Counter-Strike on its own too.
It's fire, guys, seriously. Look, today's podcast isn't about pink unicorns, unfortunately, but Max definitely deserves respect for being so straightforward. And you can really see that in him. He doesn't sugarcoat things. He just tells you exactly how he feels. If the market sucks right now, then it just sucks. But Slava and I feel it too, that things are bad right now, you see? We've always positioned ourselves by saying that 80% of your portfolio should be in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And only after that, whatever else you want, according to your own taste and preference. So I'd like to say, friends, honestly, I believe that Bitcoin's story isn't over yet. The old man still has some life in him, so to speak. And for those in our audience, those watching us, you've bought Bitcoin. You've probably bought it with us at 17, 18, 20, even 30. So it's not that scary for you. Even if Bitcoin corrects to 60, 55, or even 40, you can get through it. So overall, if you have a long-term position, traction, and you're accumulating assets, that's probably okay. Max, thank you so much for coming. It was really interesting. Let's stay in touch. If you have any tournaments or if you organize something or get involved in anything, just let us know. We'll support you from our side. Maybe share something with our audience, guys. Subscribe to Max's channel. He has a YouTube and social media accounts. Because right now, you really need to keep an eye on people like him. Guys, now is truly the opportune time to follow the successful young ones. Those affluent individuals in luxurious Rolls Royces who aren't exactly on very friendly terms with taking significant risks. I think, though,
a rented Porsche or a Rolls Royce won't lead you anywhere good. Some young guy who used to be into chess, then got into some other stuff. I don't even know what else. They're jumping from one meme coin to another, always chasing the next trend, just trend after trend after trend. Soon there will be an AI trend, and they'll be selling you all courses on how to draw pretty pictures. Then he'll find some new trend while the old ship keeps sailing on, and Bitcoin is doing just fine. Your strategy has proven itself over the years. Write all your questions in the comments below. If there are a lot of questions for Max, we'll pass them on or maybe do a second episode.
Stay in touch, friends.
Bye.